Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. So we're going to start an episode number 4. We are going to be talking to the man, the myth, the legend, Jamie Nelson. Yeah? Too much?
More the myth. The myth.
Right on. Well, we got Jamie Nelson here. Jamie Nelson, you are a resident of Minnesota, right?
Well, I'm a dual resident, so I still have residency in Wisconsin as well. I own a home in Wisconsin.
Oh,
and
nice.
We have a place in Minnesota too. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like you guys.
I grew up in Wissota.
In Wissota. Okay. For the folks that don't know, where is Wissota?
That's when your mom and dad divorced when you're about 4 or 5 years old, and your mom lives in Minnesota and your dad lives in Wisconsin. It's called Wissota.
Happens. Yep. That's not a bad place to live, though. It seems like recently with the way wrestling's going, man.
Yeah, and for me, I really kind of view it as one state, and I do. If you take Wisconsin and Minnesota, population-wise, it's around the same as Ohio or some of these other states, and we wrestle each other so many times at high school tournaments and stuff that it's kind of one. It's one kind of group.
Yeah, totally.
Plus reciprocity.
I mean, and it's really starting to show recently with who we've got coming to Minnesota. I mean, how many kids so far this year? So 4 kids we've got from Wisconsin going to Minnesota?
Yeah. So, the University of Minnesota has always done pretty well with getting Wisconsin kids. I mean, you go back to Garrett Lowney and Cole Conrad and obviously from I can't remember, Durand. We have we've got Tim Hartung, obviously national champ. So Minnesota's done really well with Wisconsin natives, several national champs here.
Nice. Well, and I mean, obviously there's a good relationship as well. I mean, with coaches and things like that. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be coming here and looking at stuff. I mean, looking at guys and
if you're from Eau Claire West, right? You get Minnesota news, Minnesota radio. If you live west of Eau Claire, half of those folks don't even know who the governor of Wisconsin is.
Yeah.
Right. Because they don't ever get Wisconsin news.
Yep. Very true.
Right.
Very true.
And then obviously, we have reciprocity.
Okay.
Which,
so
for
let's
those,
talk about that a little bit as far as what a kid could expect. I mean, it's not just the Gophers. I mean, that's Minnesota in general, correct?
Yeah. So first of all, reciprocity for me is a pretty big word. So I thought you'd just first acknowledge that I knew that word.
Well done.
But yeah, thanks. But if you live in Wisconsin, unfortunately, you only have reciprocity with Minnesota.
Okay.
And which means Minnesota kids and Wisconsin kids can go to Minnesota or Wisconsin universities for the same in-state tuition. So if you live in Minnesota and you want to go to Oshkosh or La Crosse or Madison, it's generally almost identical to in-state, and then vice versa.
Okay.
If you live in Wisconsin, you can go to any Minnesota schools, which we should talk about that a little bit. But also if you live in Minnesota, you have reciprocity with Wisconsin, North Dakota, and South Dakota. So if you live in Minnesota, you have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, you do. Almost makes you want to live there for 6 months and claim being a resident.
I don't know. You have to be any longer than that. Probably a year, I think, is what they require.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now
a year before you're college eligible.
Right. So now, okay, so let's start there.
We should dive into gray shirting eventually as well.
Yes,
that's something that's happening as well. Why kids do it, or why they should do it, or consider it anyway.
Yep. So let's start from the beginning. Let's start where when is a college recruiter necessarily, I guess, within this area that we know of what we do? When are they able to contact a student?
Well, it's a loaded question,
okay,
right? But they can contact you after June 15th
of your freshman year,
your sophomore year, going into your junior year.
Oh, I thought it was before that.
Right?
I thought it was going into your sophomore year.
Nope, going into your junior year.
Okay.
So that week, it's a tough week for a lot of kids because if you're an older sophomore, which would make you junior eligible for Fargo, that's usually the same week as the duals.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a tough week for those kids because they might be at the duals and they definitely want to have conversations with these coaches. And many of those conversations last, an hour or so. So you're trying to juggle, getting ready for a match and having conversation with coaches. But that's the week.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So your sophomore year is an extremely important year in wrestling, and that's new. That's only been around for a few years, and we can touch on that too if you want. But the rule used to be different, so that got moved up about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's really changed the landscaping of commitments, recruiting, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Some for good, some for the good, some for the bad.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay.
With that being said, and you said it's difficult for those kids that week. So they have the competition going on. They have times. So when do most kids really start to make their visits or make their real communications or whatever with these coaches, or should they? When should they?
Well, I would recommend kids, especially if you're from a smaller town or maybe you're not at a powerhouse wrestling school like Wyoming Sem or Blair or some of the other top tier schools. If you're not at one of those top tier schools, I'd highly recommend getting out to the showcase camps that the universities run.
Okay.
And the showcase camps are a great way to start to get to know coaches. And if you are RTC eligible, which I know we're going to dive into at some point here, bouncing all over the board. Right. But if you're RTC eligible, I would recommend you start getting into your local RTC as soon as you're qualified to do so.
Well, that's part of the beginning process. So, RTC program, so it's a 4 times placer, or not a placer, a state placer, correct? In order to be able to show up into an RTC room.
Yeah. So you
this
have
only has
to
to be
take
real quick. So
yeah, as a cadet or older, you have to take top 4 in your state at freestyle or Greco.
Yep.
Folk style no longer qualifies you. They just changed that rule a year ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yep. So you have to be cadet eligible.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it's because of states like Minnesota.
Yep.
Because we have junior high inclusion.
Yep.
So we had kids that when they took top 3, 4 at state in 7th, 8th grade, my son was one of them. The rule changed right after his schoolboy year. So he's been in the RTC since the 8th grade.
Yeah. Wow. Lucky
because
kid.
folk style was a qualifier.
Yep.
And he took top 4 at folk style at state because of junior high inclusion.
Okay. So anybody that doesn't know Jamie, his son is Gavin Nelson, very good wrestler, very good kid. Just committed to Minnesota officially, correct?
No, he just signed.
Yes. So he just signed. So that way,
signed.
Again, this is why we're talking. Number one is the parent who's gone through it. Everybody's process is different, but you're also engrossed in it. So that's why we're here kind of talking about it a little bit more. So now we go to the process of where, a kid is able to go and get in front of these college coaches. They're making contact. They're, let's say that only 1 or 2 of the schools that they really like are talking to them, but what could be some variables of what's going on for a kid?
Well, first, I would tell every kid to advocate for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you're at the totem pole, because I have my son, and then we were blessed to have another young man live with us for 4 years, Jace DeBlair, who's currently wrestling at Oregon State.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So when we went through his recruiting process, it was different because he was, a top tier wrestler, but he wasn't pound for pound a top 25 guy.
Mm-hmm.
So his recruiting process was different. He got reached out to by different schools, and so we had to be a little more proactive in where we found a school for him.
Sure.
And then really the same held true for Gavin too, because he had a choice of schools that he was interested in, and they were more top tier schools. And when we started going through the recruiting process, we learned also the other top tier kids at his same weight also wanted to go to the same schools he wanted to go to. So you've got to get in and do your work. It doesn't matter if you're a top 20 pound for pound guy or not, because other kids want to go to the same. There's a reason the top 10 schools are the top 10 schools.
Yeah.
Kids want to go to those schools. Those schools don't have to recruit as much as they get sought after.
Yeah. I totally get that. And so, like, just for example, like you were mentioning, there's kids that pile up at weights that want to go to a certain school that are doing certain things.
Sure.
So when you do your research on, let's say you're just like, it's me as a parent with my son, we're doing the research and looking for these schools. And, honestly, I always wanted my son to be a Oklahoma Sooner, but now with that being said, okay, so they say, hey, yeah, come on down, which I learned what paid visits are, like all this stuff from Wyatt. When we had Wyatt Ski-Bon, he said that there's some visits that were taken care of, and then there's some visits that aren't official, unofficial. So
correct.
With that being said, this kid's maybe talking to the coaches, and they're letting them know we're really interested in you. But what really weighs in a coach, like as far as what they have going on in the program, there's, only have so much money for scholarships. They only have so much room for an athlete. So I guess there's a lot of different situations that kind of come into play here as far as what makes a coach decide, or even a program decide they can take an athlete on, even though he wants to go there and has the grades and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah. So that's I think we can dive into quite a bit on that particular question.
Yep.
Years ago, I had a chance to get to meet Hector Mendez, Jesse Mendez's dad.
Okay.
Yep. And they were really going through a challenging time trying to pick schools. He was a blue chip, if you that, if you okay with that term.
Yep.
He was a blue chip recruit, and so they were trying to come up with some factors of where they wanted to go, because everybody, of course, wanted him.
Yeah.
And so they created a list, and I really liked that list, and we utilized that list for our recruiting process. We honed it a little bit for us too, but what we first and foremost did is we just took a scale, kind of, if you can in your head picture, going 1 through 5 or 1 through 10 down, and 1 through 5 over, right?
Yep. And
we kind of put a star to everyone. And first and foremost, what we came up with was our main priority for us was the head coach. Now, if you're a super intelligent kid and you're looking at going to Cornell or Harvard or Stanford, you might want to meet with, and I've heard stories where guys meet with certain professors that are going to be in their aerospace engineering program or things like that.
Yep.
My son is looking to get a business degree, which is a little bit more general than, somebody who's getting into a very advanced engineering or biochemistry type program.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So for the super smart kids, that may be a different priority, but for smart to normal kids, I would say your head coach is the most important factor, right?
Yep.
And they're the ones that most head coaches receive bonuses on their team GPAs.
Yep.
So it's going to be they're going to be really invested in your kids' education, because it's how they get paid.
Okay.
They don't just get paid to win on the mat. A lot of coaches get paid bonus money for maintaining a 3.0 or a 3.1 GPA.
Okay. Sure.
A lot of coaches also receive bonuses for retention, meaning 7 freshmen come in, they want to get at least 5, 6 to graduate. It's hard to keep all 7. Some do.
That's a long-term bonus right there. Holy cow, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. So some do it retention-wise, right? But you also want to know that you have a coach that cares about kids, has a track record of seeing kids all the way from their freshman to their graduation year. They don't have kids hitting the portal left and right. Or, we weren't interested in coaches that are super active in the portal either, because you're putting in your time. You might be doing a great example. Great example would be, there was a freshman at a Power 3 wrestling college, was an All-American, and he finished the year number 7 as a freshman, and they got the number 2 guy to come in over the top of him.
Wow.
Right.
Okay,
So, picking those head coaches that tend to show some loyalty, and also coaches that can recruit and develop. You see a lot of times that
you mentioned that a lot.
Coaches
that develop.
Yeah. Yep. But you see a lot of coaches that live in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
They get 1 or 2 developed kids here or there, but it's not consistent.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
And I always think teams that live in the portal, you wonder why.
Yeah.
Right. So that head coach to us was super important in finding guys that get kids to graduate, develop guys. And you can look around and there's some schools that get top tier recruits that even though they're still a top 10 team, based on their recruits, they should be a top 1 or 2 team.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And then you see, so I'll use one that my son's not going to. I think North Carolina State does a great job of developing kids. They don't always get the bluest of the blue chippers.
Sure. Yeah.
But yet they're always top 5. And Coach Papalizio, his retention rates are super high, if not the best out there. Right. He does a great job of getting kids that understand his program to come in. So he understands his brand. He's done a great job of building his brand.
Yep.
And so I think it's really important for coaches to be authentic to who they are, because then kids will be drawn to that and you'll get the right kid. You might not always get the kid you want, but you'll get the right kid.
He's got our attention. That's for sure. I mean, that's a program that's had a couple of really decent, Gwizdowski came out of NC State, right?
Yeah. So he's definitely put out, and he's got the Hidlays, and I mean, he can go on and on and on. He's done a great job out there, and he's super hard nosed, right? Sure. So he runs and so you have to know, like, do you want to go to a super hard nosed program like that, right? And then there's programs that are more laid back and they still have success. You got to pick the right one for you, and the head coach kind of dictates how that program
their philosophies and how they go through a practice and how hard or how, I guess, soft they are, I guess, for lack of a better term. But
well, and some have a party hard, work hard mentality, and if that's who you are, I mean, you and I both lived in Wisconsin a long time. There's a lot of party hard, work hard kind of people in Wisconsin, and just because they party hard doesn't mean they don't get their job done.
Right. Correct. Right. Totally.
Now, I can't stay up past 10 o'clock and function the next day.
It's getting hard. It's getting hard. Yeah.
So you have to make sure, are you going to fit into that kind of group?
Sure. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So head coach dictates the culture of the team.
Yep.
Right. Number 2 that we looked at on our list was the city. Okay. And why I think the city is so important is you're going to live there 5 to 8 years.
Yeah. If not more, maybe.
Right? Maybe longer. Right. Yeah. Maybe longer. Right. So it's a question you've really got to ask yourself. Are you a small town person? So would you like a town like Brookings that's small and kind of out there a little bit? Or do you like a big metropolitan area like the Twin Cities, where you like, all the sports teams right there and the arts and the lakes, and, so there's not a wrong or a right. You need to know who you are. And then, or like my son, it was a tough choice. Dinkytown is a really neat college environment.
Spent a lot of time there.
He really, but he really liked Dinky. All these college towns are fun. But he really liked the college town feel, like Ann Arbor and Iowa City. He liked those kind of Madison. He liked those 500,000-600,000 population.
They're into their school right around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're big, but small, but the school kind of dictates the town.
Sure. Yep.
So I think there's 3 towns you look at. Do you like the small town environment, the college town environment, or the more urban environment? You have to know who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
And pick that right one.
Yep.
Right.
So
there's really no right or wrong to it.
No. Well, I mean, it kind of dictates you're again, like you said, you're going to be there for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, it dictates your daily life. It's something you want and, know, especially if you're living in a town already, like just in high school, and you're like, I got to get out of here. You're most likely going to find a place 9 chances out of 10 that's not like your hometown. You want something different. So that's
correct.
Yeah. Good aspect to look at there.
And one thing I hear a lot of too is like kids, for extracurricular activities like to hunt and fish.
Yes.
It's pretty popular amongst wrestlers, right?
Big time. Yep.
And that doesn't always mean that small town. I know some kids that have gone to some smaller town colleges, but it doesn't, just because you're in a small town in the middle of nowhere, doesn't mean there's a lot of lakes and hunting right around you, right?
Yep, exactly.
Where like you take a look at Madison or Minneapolis, they might be big cities, but within 15, 20 minutes, there's plenty of fishing and hunting to do. So, don't just rule out a big market like Madison or Minneapolis because you like to hunt and fish.
Right. And here's the man himself here, Liam.
There's the legend, the myth,
Liam has joined us finally. He's just got done with practice. He had to eat something quick. He's
Nice.
A little famished. So say hi, Liam.
Hello.
Talking to Mr. Nelson. Finally, you haven't seen him in a while.
No.
Oh,
so doesn't look like a little. He just doesn't look like a little kid anymore. That's for sure.
All right.
So we were just talking about what really draw.
We're number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
Yeah,
what should draw a kid to a university,
or can a checklist that a kid can use to help guide themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So you're mentioning environment as far as where where the school is, where it's located, what type of things are there. You wanted to talk. You talked about the coaching staff. You got to like the head coach. I mean, you got to like the assistant coach too.
So let's go into the coaching staff just a little bit more, and then we'll hit the city again too, right? Like. Did you thrive in your high school environment? So like if you have a fiery high school coach, right? And they're fiery and motivational and just in your business 24/7, but you thrived in that.
Yeah.
Then I would look into that in college too. If you like a more direct coach that's, brutally honest, but not a yeller screamer, then you got to find that coach, right? Mm-hmm. If you thrive better in just constant positive reinforcement, then you need to go find that coach. My son's in the middle.
Sure.
He likes coaches that are direct. They don't sugarcoat if he's not having a good match, but he likes those conversations in private. He doesn't like them in public, so he likes that direct communication. He really cannot stand being in a wrestling room and say somebody's maybe having an off practice and they decide to light that guy up in front of everybody else.
Right.
Wants that. That's not, he doesn't want to be in a room like that. Right. And he doesn't like the rah hype stuff either.
Yeah.
So he wanted that direct middle of the road. Let's meet. Let's talk about what we got to get better at. Here's what you're not doing well at. Focused. Don't pull any punches, but just be respectful about it.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys like we call him my foster son, but the kid we help raise who's out in Oregon State.
Yep. Chase the Blair.
We froze up here. Is it just the mic or is it the camera?
Nope. I think it's just the camera. We're good. I see you moving. Oh, not anymore. Now you're frozen. I can still hear you though. Are you there? I think I lost him. All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment, very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.